George in Chicago. Hey, George, thanks for listening to Chicago's Progressive Talk. What's on your mind?
And thanks to you and your staff for everything you do.
You.
Thought occurred to me when you had Professor Wolf on, you had led off with talking about how Germany is on the knife edge of a recession or a depression. But it highlights the difference between their system and ours. If they go into an economic downturn and people are put out of work, well, they're taken care of with generous unemployment insurance. They have national health care, so nobody has to worry about losing their insurance. They have extensive programs for training and retraining, so you can upgrade your skills or get a new type
free college education, free journeyman apprenticeships, things like that. Yep.
And
in fact, you're paid to participate in those things.
Right. Whereas here, as you've pointed out numerous times, wages and salaries for working people have been stagnant or gone down since 1981. Bill Clinton ended welfare as we know it, so the people at the bottom of the pyramid struggle more and more. Unemployment used to be up to 65 weeks, now it's 26, and we still have to pay enormous amounts of money for health insurance. Germany has 12% of their GDP for health care, and they cover everybody. We do 18%, and lots of people aren't covered. And what we continue to do is reverse Robin Hood. We enrich the rich at the cost of the working people and the poor.
Yeah.
And I just wonder if the Fed had a counterpart organization that was as interested in sustaining the working people instead of rewarding the bankers that continually put our economy in a tailspin and then get rewarded for it with subsidies and no prosecution. In other words, if the money was coming up from the bottom, maybe we wouldn't have the problems we have.
Yeah. Well, I think that a large part of our problem, George, is money coming down from the top, to extend your metaphor. When the Supreme Court in 1976 said that billionaires can own politicians and that that's considered First Amendment free speech, and that they can pour unlimited amounts of money into elections, even for things like ballot initiatives, so they can change the course of American political history. That was the beginning of basically of the collapse of America. I mean, that led directly to Reagan 4 years later, and that led to Reaganism, which we've been living under now for 40 some odd years. And Germany has not gone down that road. And, the UK did. They got Thatcher and we got Reagan, and that's why the United States and the UK are both, we've seen our middle classes wiped out. But the rest of Europe didn't make that stupid mistake, and, spot on. And you did a brilliant job of laying out all the reasons why. Thank you for that, George. Appreciate it. David in Steilacoom, Washington. Am I saying it right, David?
Yes, Steilacoom. Hey. How you doing there, Tom?
Great. What's up?
Hey, first of all, corporate welfare to big companies that are on the public trough, that's not socialism. That's corporate welfare.
Yeah, you're right.
One thing,
because it doesn't help society. You're right. It's not socialism.
Yeah. One thing that we could all do today is that what to me, socialism is economic democracy. What we could do today, each of us, is go down to our friendly local credit union, open an account, and then step number 2 would be to get down to the bank where you've got your accounts, your money, and transfer it to your friendly local economic democracy credit union, which that would keep the money here. That would keep the money in your neighborhood instead of shipping it off to Wall Street. Now that to me is socialism.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the generally accepted, notion of socialism, but I absolutely get what you're saying, and
democracy.
Yeah, there you go. Very, very well said, David.
At Wells Fargo, you have no say-so. At your credit union, you vote for the CEO, you vote for the leadership.
You're absolutely right.
Democracy.
Well, you can even run for leadership. You're absolutely right. I mean, they're co-ops, essentially, local credit unions, and I participate in one. I think everybody should. Get out of the big banks and get into your credit unions. Amen. Brian in Grant, Michigan, listening on AM 1680. Hey, Grant, what's up?
Hi, Tom.
Or Brian.
You were
I'm
asking
sorry.
what we'd like
Hey,
to see from socialism, and I've got a couple things. The main one is I think we ought to do the same thing with high-speed internet that we did with telephones and electricity in the 30s.
Amen.
There's a lot of us who live out in the middle of nowhere who are stuck with lousy and expensive satellite internet, and running lines and creating an internet infrastructure for the country, I think, would be a great thing for socialism to do.
We need another REA, the program that the Rural Electrification Administration is what that was, but the
Exactly.
program that brought telephones to rural America, the program that brought electricity, that was the REA, and then we need an RIA. Yes, I'm with you, Brian.
Yeah. The other thing I'd love to see is whenever a company is sold or goes bankrupt, that the workers get their pensions first before anybody else.
Yes, and that was by the way, that was the case prior to the Reagan presidency. It used to be that the law was that companies had to book their pensions as liabilities. In other words, if a company had $5 million in the bank that was pension money that had been taken out of their workers' paychecks, that money actually was considered to be the property of the workers. And if the company went bankrupt, they had to give it back to the workers because it was taken out of their paychecks. Or even if it was matching money, out of the largesse of the company, it was still considered out of their paychecks because it was in lieu of some other benefit that they would have gotten. And so so when a company went belly up, or when it went bankrupt, or when it got acquired by another company, whoever it was, whatever the situation was, those workers had to be paid back first before anybody else got their piece of the pie. Reagan changed those rules. Well, Congress changed those rules at the request of the Reagan administration to say that pension funds were no longer liabilities on the books of a company. They now were assets. So if a company was sitting on $5 million in their pension fund and another company bought them, they could take that $5 million and convert it to something other than pensions. And we saw that in a big way in the 80s with the bankruptcy, the acquisition by Carl Icahn of TWA. One of the things that funded that was he took down the pension. The same thing with Eastern Airlines. I mean, there was just a bunch of these high visibility things where workers lost their pensions, and billionaires took that pension money, used it to buy the companies, used it to increase their profits, and the workers got screwed. Spot on, Brian.
Well,
thank you very much. That was an excellent one. Marty in Eugene, Oregon. Hey, Marty. Thanks for listening to 1350 AM. What's up?
Hey, Tom. Thanks for taking my call. I appreciate it. I'm surprised I got in. My point is that I think we should be embracing a lot more socialism in our economy. After all, the Constitution, in my view, is a Socialist Manifesto.
Yes, it mentions the general welfare 3 different times. It is socialism.
3 different times. Yep. It's all about we the people, and it's supposed to be functioning, doing things for us that we can't do ourselves individually. So.
Yep.
That's my point.
Okay, amen. Well said. Amen. Marty, thank you for the call. Ed in Klamath Falls, Oregon. Hey, Ed, what's up?
Tom, I think you're being unfair with your characterization of, do people want free stuff? Do they want free medical care? Do they want free dental? Do they want free? I mean, they want free everything. Of course, people will always say yes. But the same studies, when they do that, if they ask the people, how about paying for it? Do you want your taxes to double or triple so you can pay for all that free stuff? The people say, no, we do not want that.
I think, Ed, Americans are taxed enough. At least Americans who make less than $200,000 a year. I think they're paying plenty of taxes, or maybe $100,000 a year. But the people at the high end who are paying half the tax rate that the people who work on this show are paying, the people at the high end, they're not paying anything close to the taxes they should be paying. And the corporations in America during the Eisenhower administration, fully 1/3 of the federal budget came from corporate taxes. Now it's 6%. Corporations are walking away with this stuff and creating billionaires in the process. Those taxes need to go up.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit